Beneath the Scope is a short film narrated by America's blowhard, Rashad Richey, that attempts to answer the age-old question, what would you get if Neil Breen and Steven Sagal decided to collaborate on a short film? While vanity projects typically use action hero scripts to impress the chicks, Rashad is far too out of shape for such fare. While you might point out Steven Seagal's girth, well, okay, you have a point there. Race baiting is what Rashad Richey is all about, so instead of an action hero movie, we get a documentary, and it is the stuff of Mystery Science Theater. Today, we're going to watch his documentary and laugh. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
Rashad Richey is quite proud of his short film, and by short, I mean about 5 minutes. He crows incessantly that he was nominated for an Emmy Award for his narration, but if you know Rashad Richey, you know that he lies about everything, and I mean everything. He wasn't nominated for an Emmy. He, along with the entire Cheyenne Nation, apparently, was nominated for a Southeastern Emmy. Whenever Rashad mentions his nomination, the Southeastern part of the award mysteriously is never included. Oops, I guess he's just forgetful.
It's on here. It's Real Talk with Rashad Richey on News and Talk 1380 WAOK.
While this documentary is purportedly about a small town in Georgia, it doesn't take long for the vanity nature of this work to surface. This project is about himself. Just watch.
Voice of the community, now getting real with Richie. Yes? Wow, I got a lot to talk about. I was not with you guys last Friday, and there's a reason. Because of Camilla, Georgia. They had their first African-American male mayor, and that this mayor was refused keys to City Hall. The population was 70% African-American, but at the time, they did not have one black police officer. The cemetery was separated by a fence.
I realize that calling Rashad's documentary the stuff of middle schoolers can be seen as hyperbole. However, in this case, I truly believe it is 100% accurate because I think that a crew of middle schoolers would have had enough common sense to put a fence in the frame.
Was separated black and white. And what separated them was a fence.
Where is the fence? Yes, it sounds too sensational for a segregated cemetery to exist in the Deep South. I would be mightily surprised if there weren't segregated cemeteries in Georgia. After all, if there is one area of a town that is probably slow to desegregate, it's a cemetery.
At the city-owned cemetery. And the list goes on and on. So I said, well, this sounds a little too sensational to be true. So I got in touch with the mayor. He confirmed that these things were accurate.
Just a tip for all of you script writers, don't use the word things. Allegations, claims, stories, rumors, those are all great. Don't use things. One of the most absurd aspects of this documentary is Rashad Richey's complete unwillingness to perform any background research. Camilla has a long, sordid history with race relations. Even a cursory Wikipedia search uncovers a race riot shortly after the Civil War that killed over a dozen recently freed slaves. Gee, that sounds relevant. Also, in the 1960s, Marion King, the wife of a prominent civil rights activist, was beaten to a pulp by Camilla police. Wow, that background would have provided the perfect context for his narrative, but Rashad doesn't even mention these events at all.
And that he refused to go to another city council meeting until his city became desegregated.
Unless he has a plan to dig up the dead, the cemetery will probably stay segregated for quite some time. Now, there could be other areas of the city that are segregated. We'll probably never know because Rashad never bothers to tell us.
On Friday, I went to Camilla, Georgia to really dig deep.
I know what I'll do. I'll go to the town to examine arrest records, look at city hiring demographics, peruse City Hall minutes, investigate the claim that the mayor was refused keys to City Hall. I'll send out surveys and check out the town's history. Nah, I'll sneak up on unsuspecting white people, stick my microphone in their faces, ask racially charged questions for which they could not possibly answer to my satisfaction, and then complain that they're reluctant to talk to me.
To talk directly to everybody involved. The first visit I made was to the mayor. Mr. Mayor, if you would, come down here and tell, for those who may not know it, what's happening in Camilla, Georgia.
Clearly, this exchange was planned. The mayor comes out fully dressed up, so why show Rashad knocking on the door? This was no surprise visit by the narrator, and why does Rashad have to be in the frame? After all, this is a documentary, and oh, never mind.
Well, back in December, I began boycotting my city council to protest invidious racial segregation and discrimination within my city.
The mayor is now going to explain what's going on, right? He'll tell us where he has found discrimination in his city. Yes?
The mayor
No.
gave me a letter.
Well, my letter is generally asking anyone within this jurisdiction in my capacity as mayor to cooperate with you.
Keep in mind, that letter is going to be mentioned a lot. Rashad Richey is very proud of it. The mayor of a town of around 5,000 people wrote him a letter and probably even signed it. I am sure that Rashad Richey will probably go home, take out a magnet, and stick it to his refrigerator.
So I took this letter to City Hall. Well, I have a letter from the mayor who is encouraging cooperation, okay, because of the allegations about racism, bigotry, prejudice in the system. Is there...
Wait, what happened to her? What's the point of the jump cut? You show some lady nodding her head while Rashad Richey lectures her, and then you just jump to another scene.
racism, prejudice, and bias in Camilla?
Not that I know of. I've been working here 60 years.
Have you heard the allegations about the city cemetery being split between black people on one side, white people on another side, and a fence that split the two?
Note, he asks if she has heard about the allegations that the city cemetery is segregated. Now listen.
Are you aware of that?
He changes the question. Are you aware of that? Meaning, are you aware that the cemetery is segregated? Not, have you heard allegations about it being segregated? Who wrote this script? She doesn't know which question to answer at this point. Oh, and by the way, when I watch documentaries, I like being told who the narrator is talking to. Where I come from, they sometimes subtitle the frames with the names and roles of the people being interviewed. Maybe that was too much trouble.
I am.
You said you were getting complaints from citizens?
Absolutely, yes.
Maybe you should be talking to the citizens.
Oh, I have. Is there...
Wait, Rashad says, I have talked to citizens. What did they say? That's it? You're going to jump to another scene on that note? By the way, you haven't talked to the citizens, at least not according to the documentary timeline.
Racism, prejudice from city government toward residents of Camilla, Georgia.
Again, I ask if you will talk to Miss Brenda Cross, okay?
We're talking about citizens in...
Wait, so we're back to her? What was the point of the earlier jump cut if you were going to go back to her?
in Camilla that have made these allegations
but
against.
I'm not in a position to answer those questions, and once again, I'll be glad to get you a meeting scheduled with our city manager.
Okay, where's the city manager at today?
He doesn't work on Friday.
Given that the city manager is not in, it appears that she's just trying to get rid of Rashad. After all, the city manager is probably not the one to ask. You are asking political questions. The city manager might not even live in Camilla. You need to ask city council members because they're political appointments that are more in charge of answering to the city's social justice reputation and policies. But evidently, that was too much trouble.
Do you know any racist white people in Camilla, Georgia?
Not that I'm aware of.
There are no.
I've never run across them. I'll put it that way.
You have never come in contact with any racist white person ever in Camilla, Georgia.
Notice how Rashad shakes his paper, the infamous letter, at whoever this person is. We don't know because Rashad doesn't tell us.
Georgia.
No.
Notice that Rashad specifically targets white people. Are there any racist white people living in the city? I am sure there are racist people living in every city in the U.S., and some of these racist people are non-whites. I know this for a fact after trying to get waited on in Mexican restaurants in California's Central Valley.
Can you read this letter, ma'am? I have a letter from the mayor.
I am sure, as a clerk working for the city government, that she's really impressed with you having a letter from the mayor. She probably gets a dozen of those on her desk every day.
No, thank you, sir. See the city manager, city clerk.
There was no need to put that woman, who appears to be a clerk, in your documentary. She added nothing to it. He's got this magic letter that he is so proud of and wants to show everyone, and she directs him to someone else. Smart move.
They're complaining about government. Do you not work for government?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Are you willing to answer my questions?
No.
Was the cemetery actually segregated black and white?
So he jumps back to this lady, and we once again don't know who she is.
You would need to fill out an open records request, and you need to talk to Mr. Sykes.
I need to fill out an open records request to find out if black people are buried next to white people.
Yes.
And he gets nowhere. The magic letter doesn't seem to have much effect, and why should it? Who expects anyone to give a rat's ass about his letter or what it says? She says that he needs to talk to Mr. Steins, but Rashad never bothers to inform us who Mr. Steins is. I could look it up, but if I did, I would be doing more investigative reporting than Rashad, and I'm not being paid for this.
This city is 70% African American. How many black police officers do you have? Do you guys have more than one black police officer?
Yes, we have 2 recruits that are going to the academy right now.
You have 2 black police officers.
So they do have black police officers. Keep in mind, this is a small police force. It's a small town. They probably only have about 10 officers in total.
Yes, sir. We have 1 black police officer and 2 recruits.
So I went outside of the police precinct. There were 2 officers leaving the building, and I approached these officers. I really just want to talk to the chief of police.
Evidently, word gets around.
No, I can't talk to the chief. Cops running away from me. That's a first.
Yeah, usually it's the other way around. But running away from you? Let's take a look at that again. Look at them run. My God, they're just blurs. By the way, asking patrolmen to talk to the police chief is incredibly stupid. The police chief is an administrator that has an office inside the police headquarters. You go to the front desk and you make an appointment. What the f*** were you expecting these officers to do? Call the police chief outside? Now it appears that the public servants of City Hall are reluctant to talk to Rashad. They probably think that he is an out-of-towner looking to stir up racial divisions among their citizens to pad his own bank account. If so, this is proof that they are excellent judges of character.
I can't talk to the chief of police. Okay. All right. Everybody's ignoring me, but I got a letter from the mayor.
Oh, that's real nice.
And a mighty fine letter, I am sure it is.
We went and spoke to residents of Camilla. One resident did acknowledge, a white male, he did acknowledge that racism exists in Camilla, Georgia.
Racism, racism, racism. The racism didn't come here till he was elected mayor.
So the current mayor is the one that created the racism that exists right now.
That's correct.
So far, it looks like your talk to the people scheme isn't working out very well. For the record, I think this man probably believes that Camilla was a nice, quiet town until the newly elected mayor started stirring up. Maybe, maybe not. A real documentary would have investigated this angle, but, well, never mind.
We spoke to black residents as well. They did confirm.
Wait, they confirmed what? That the mayor was the source of the racism? That's what the man just said. So you talked to black people in the town and they confirmed that? This is probably just bad editing.
Do police target African Americans in Camilla?
Yes, like if you're walking late night, they'll get behind you, show lights and stuff.
They're trying to recall the mayor because he made issue about what was happening with the city. They're trying to get vengeance on him.
This is a very awkward time to start the music.
Right, see, you got a lot of Uncle Tom type people in the city. You know, they want to kiss up to the, I would say, the status quo for people with the money.
What? I could barely understand what this man said, but it doesn't seem like he was talking about racism at all. You spent a day in Camilla. This is the best you could do?
Let me give you my thoughts about Camilla, Georgia. Camilla has issues. Camilla has serious issues.
But you didn't uncover any of them. You found nothing. I'm not saying that the issues aren't there, and in reading about Camilla, it appears that the town does have some problems, but you didn't find any of them. You found one African American that complained about prejudice, and a white man that complained the prejudice was actually caused by the black mayor, plus a white administrator who said that there was no racism in Camilla. So you have a sample size of 3 people, none of them agreeing with each other. So what did we really learn?
You have an African American population complaining about prejudice, non-equity. They are complaining about police officers profiling them, city government not giving African Americans contracts or employment to the rate of their population.
Wait, no one said that. Besides, it's a stupid argument anyway. The black population of Camilla is significantly poorer than the white population. Therefore, they're going to own far fewer businesses, and therefore, they are probably not going to get contracts in proportion to their population. I know this may sound weird, but if you put out a bid to build a new library, the companies that place bids are probably owned by fairly wealthy people. White people.
You see, if this city was 70% white, and they only had 1 white police officer, 0 white contractors, that would be an issue. That would be a problem.
That is purely conjecture on your part. It has no business being in an investigative documentary.
That's not fair to the local community that makes up the city. It is my hope, it is my prayer that the mayor, the city council.
Wait, you're talking about racism, and you show a still picture of a white official shaking hands with the black mayor. Who made the decisions on which photographs to include in this documentary?
And the residents of Camilla, black and white, rich and poor, young and the not so young.
The young and the not so young. Well, I guess that's everybody.
That they find a way to work together in peace and harmony.
Oh my God, PU, all of you writing scripts for future films, don't use such cliches. And by the way, the whole talk about peace and harmony would have been a good place to put the picture of the white official shaking hands with the black mayor.
To work together in peace and harmony. Because if they do not, Camilla could be the next Ferguson.
Based on what? Gee, are we being a little melodramatic? Of course, this is the slippery slope fallacy. I don't doubt that there is probably racism in Camilla. It's a small town in the deep South. There is probably little that separates Camilla from any of the other hundreds of small towns in the deep South. What about Camilla did we learn from this documentary that makes it so unique? Why pick on it? Rashad didn't uncover anything that would register even the slightest of concern. Yet it could be the next Ferguson? By the way, Rashad clearly has fallen for the hands up, don't shoot myth that was debunked by the grand jury report.
And that's my take.
Ah, well, your take sucks.
I'm thankful to you for exposing all these injustices.
Exposing all of these injustices? What injustices? Rashad didn't expose anything. We heard from one resident that the police may be following black people around more than whites. Okay, what else? The cemetery? Really? You might say, well, what about the mayor not getting the keys to City Hall? Rashad didn't investigate that claim one iota. That would have been worth discussing. Instead, Rashad completely ignores it to ask such silly questions as, is there racism in Camilla? And have you heard about the cemetery being segregated?
Going on, and it's sad to know that, but these posing all these injustices.
To all you naysayers out there that have said no good ever came of this documentary, I may have you know that after city officials watched it, they held a meeting and made a vow to never take their badges home ever again. Seriously, Rashad, tell your director that unless there is a scandal where certain races are allowed to keep their badges when they go home, remove the "Please do not take badge home" sign. Filmmaking 101, remove distractions from the set. Here, we're supposed to be focusing on the man looking out the window deep in thought about that amazing letter he wrote to Rashad, but instead, our eyes fixate on the sign.
Going on, and it's sad to know that, but these are all calculated, and these are by design.
Those are some pretty serious allegations. This is an investigative documentary, so investigate them. By the way, this is a documentary about supposed racism in a small town in the deep South, one with a large black population. So why choose music that makes it appear that the townsfolk are going to suit up in armor, ride into the Black Forest, and attack a castle? Don't leave, by the way, because the credits are a hoot as well. Notice that Rashad Richey's name is just stuck in there, with no role attached to it. Wait, I thought Stephen Dewar was the executive producer. What the hell is up with the commas? Where I come from, the space comes after the comma. But then again, perhaps this is some sort of Atlanta thing. Another Atlanta thing must be a lack of parallelism. Directed is cast in the past tense. Produce is in the present tense. Edited is in the past tense. And photography isn't even a f***ing verb. You have an extra space between Porfirio and Augustine. I'm not sure why, but gee, I wonder if they just didn't look at this closely. My God, this thing scrolls so jerkily. I don't even know how to make a video do that on purpose. And I guess in Atlanta, you capitalize all of the words except editing. And again, what's with the comma placement? Where is the comma after Camilla? Also, I'm pretty sure that's not how you use dashes unless there is a state in the Union named Georgia Rufus. And who is A. Rashad Richey? Please don't tell me that you misspelled your own name.
Hey, I'm the most local person in here.
So let's go to the official website and look up the credits. And they misspelled Steve Dewar's name. In fact, they didn't even get close. It also lists 3 members under key cast. Strangely enough, Rashad Richey isn't one of them. We also have a director named Porfirio Agustin Fernando Castillo Steve. What kind of name is Castillo Steve? The production budget is listed as $0. This may be the first time that Rashad Richey has ever been honest in his life. So, I did some reading about Camilla, and it turns out that Benjamin Crump came around and pretty much got everyone hot and bothered. I quit reading at that point because I have learned that as soon as Benjamin Crump's name appears in front of my eyes, I can't trust anything I read thereafter. Okay, let me know how you like this review, and my apologies to Space Ice. I tried to avoid his voice inflections, but after numerous retakes, it was just easier to rip him off. I'm sorry.
But I got a letter from the mayor